Darkness is what happens when light leaves the room. Grace and peace, everybody. Welcome to Sabbath School Study Group. My name is Chris Bailey. This is a new 5-part series. We're still in the book of Exodus, and we're talking about the plagues in this series. And there's an important principle that we need to understand because this is said over 9 times in the book of Exodus. The statement being that God hardens Pharaoh's heart. Well, before we get into it, I want to thank you for watching. If you could do us a favor, hit the like, subscribe, share button, pass this on to somebody else. We're on the road in Oklahoma, and we would love to come where you are. So to get that started, just send us an email to contact@changeministry.org. Now let's get back to the word here in Exodus. Exodus chapter 7 and verse number 3. It is here that God says, I will harden Pharaoh's heart and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt. The hardening of the heart. How is it possible that the God who is love, according to 1 John, what actually happens in God hardening Pharaoh's heart is that God actually leaves Pharaoh to himself. Why would God leave someone? He wants to be with everyone. He gave us Jesus, his son. This is not a choice that God makes to leave Pharaoh. This was Pharaoh's choice in leaving God. Well, how did he leave God? Well, think about it this way in John 12. It's spoken of in John 12 as those who did not believe in Jesus. In effect, they chose darkness rather than light, and in doing that, their hearts became hard to the one who was trying to reach them. In John chapter 12, but though he had done so many miracles before them, yet they believed not on him, that the saying of Isaiah the prophet might be fulfilled, which he spake, Lord, who hath believed our report? And to whom hath the arm of the Lord been revealed? Therefore, or because of their choices, they could not believe, because that Isaiah said again. Let's just stop here for a second so we can get our heads around this. The hardening of the heart is the heart that rejects the love of God. The hardening of the heart, or the darkening of the heart, is the heart that rejects the light. Because remember, darkness only comes when light leaves the room. So as you read on in John 12, he continued by saying, he hath blinded their eyes. This is speaking of Jesus. The Lord Jesus has blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, that they should not see with their eyes, nor understand with their heart, and be converted, and I should heal them. These things said Isaiah when he saw his glory, and spake of him. Nevertheless, among the chief rulers also many believed on him, but because of the Pharisees they did not confess him, lest they should be put out of the synagogue. So here you have those who welcome the light, and their hearts are not hardened. Their hearts were changed. They were redeemed. But those whose hearts were hardened were those who chose not to believe. Those who were blinded were those who chose not to see. Those who became deaf because they did not choose to hear. I think you're getting the picture. The hardening of the heart is not necessarily an act of God. It is an act of God in response to our choice. It's why it's so important that when we hear and see and know that God is working and that God is moving, he's a gentleman. He will never force us. He will always invite us. But the invitation is vital. If we don't choose the light, we, as a result, are left in darkness. That's what happened to Pharaoh. And to a real extent, it's what happens to Egypt. And it will be, unfortunately, what happens to anyone who chooses darkness rather than light. But I'm so glad that Jesus is the light, and he still shines today. And for any one of us who wants him, all we have to do is let him in.